Hey, this is Matt. This past weekend, Owen and I did the Toronto Game Jam. In this video, I'd like to show you how we made our game, Stars of Canada. The first thing we did is start brainstorming. The theme of the jam was once more with feeling, so we decided to create a game that makes music. We had a few ideas, such as a grid-based game with balls that made notes, or a match 3 style puzzle game where the board generated music, but the idea we liked the most was a constellation creation game. Each star would play a specific musical note, so as you connected the stars together, you would also be building a song, with each path representing a different instrument. Once we had the idea, we set off to develop the game. I started off by getting a plugin called Audio Helm to help generate the music. It's an open source synthesizer with a Unity integration, and it seemed perfectly suited to the kind of music we wanted to make. First, I got single notes working. Then I added a second track of notes. And next I got the tracks playing notes of different pitches. And I started playing them with different instruments. It needed more rhythm, so I added some drums as well as a third music track. Finally, I added a fourth music track, and with that we had everything we needed musically for the game. Meanwhile, Owen was starting to code the actual gameplay of the game. We used the Shapes plugin from the Unity Asset Store to draw the lines. It's great for doing any kind of in-game vector art, which is perfect for the aesthetic we had planned. First, Owen coded the star generation. This was pretty good, but we realized we wanted to make sure the stars weren't too close together. So Owen coded the star generation to spread out the stars, and also added a basic post-processing bloom effect. Next, we discussed the current visual style, and decided to change up the star art to be smaller so that more stars could fit on the screen. Then Owen coded the path dragging behavior. At this point, the player could drag the path from star to star. Next, I added the silhouette of a grassy field and the sound of crickets. We wanted to set the mood of a quiet night looking up at the stars, and so these elements really helped with that. The next task was line intersections. The player could connect paths to any star, but we didn't want to allow paths to cross over each other, so Owen wrote the code to detect those intersections. Owen also added a spinning ring around stars in the current drag color. This makes it easier to tell which stars you're trying to reach, and should make the game playable for colorblind players. At around the same time, he made the dragged line segment a dotted line to make it stand out. That same segment also turns red when there's an intersection to make it more obvious. It's a small feature, but it helps a lot for usability. I finally integrated my music making code with the actual game. There's also a little sparkly particle effect each time a note gets played. After trying the game with music, we realized that the tempo was way too fast for the chill vibe we wanted, so we reduced the tempo by half, from 120 BPM to 60 BPM. Next, I added drums that play when you complete the level. This gives a nice reward when completing a level and also makes the song itself feel more complete. At this point, Owen implemented the progression of the game. You start off with a single instrument, but more instruments and stars are added over time as you solve levels. The generator also makes sure that levels are solvable, which is important since we don't want players to be given an impossible level and get stuck. Up until that point, we'd been calling the game Symphony of the Stars, but we weren't huge fans of that name, so we decided to start brainstorming and see what other names we could come up with. Here's just some of our ideas. Symphony of the Stars, Star Symphony, Sound of the Stars, Star Mini, Stellar Symphony, Luminaria, Kismetronome, Unison Universe, Bright Light Music Night, Cosmic Chorus, and my personal favorite, Orchestar. Some of these names had potential, but then Owen mentioned that the game's music reminded him of the band Boards of Canada, and I told him that one of the instruments in the game was using a synth patch that was inspired by the sound of Boards of Canada. This led to us realizing that Stars of Canada would make a great name for the game, so that's what we ended up going with. The jam was starting to wrap up, but at the last minute I added a spark that travels along the lines to indicate which star will be played next. We also added a help menu and volume controls. And with that, the jam was over. We're really happy with how the game turned out, and we hope you'll enjoy it too. For a fun bonus, we tried some other musical configurations. For example, here's what the game sounds like at 140 BPM, with more of a techno beat. And here's something else. That's about it. Thanks for watching.